And we pick up the action with 51 kilometers left to go. And that is just over 31 miles. A four-man breakaway with a lead of 4 minutes. And it is raining. The most rain we've seen at any one of the stages so far this year, but this is often a race that is shaped by weather, and a lot of the rain jackets are out on a cold, chilly day back in the confines of the peloton.
Standings to take the overall lead, because that circuit or that loop around the finishing town of Brioude is going to be very, very difficult indeed with that second category climb. I can see the sprinters today getting left behind.
And here are our four leaders for Saxo Bank. That is the 28-year-old Dane Mads Christensen, and alongside him the Frenchman for Soya-Sun, Alexis Viermos. AG2R has Sebastian Minard in the move, and Martijn Keizer, a 24-year-old Dutch rider for Vacansoleil, is also in the break to try and protect the King of the Mountains lead, because his teammate Bert-Jan Lindemann started the day with the polka dot jersey, and Keizer has already accumulated mountain points so far in this stage 3. Paul, for the third day in a row, we have a loop around the finishing town, but it's the first time that it's not flat, with a finish that sets up for a field sprint. We have more hills on this stage than we've seen throughout the entire race. Prior to today, we just had one small Category 4 climb, so today we could finally see some separation in something other than a full field sprint.
Well, this four-man breakaway group got away after just 3 kilometers, 2 miles of the race here this afternoon. Gives us a little bit of a chance to give an update on what happened to Nasser Bouhani yesterday, by the way. Once we got the medical report from the race organization last night, it turns out that he actually had broken a rib. He had 8 stitches in his lip and he'd broken 2 teeth. But he seems to be in good spirits, and he was receiving lots of messages of goodwill from the riders in the peloton.
And now, wearing the yellow jersey of overall leader, will he hold it by the end of the day? Not going to be easy, considering the roads and the fact that they go up and down the rest of the way. Not a pure sprinter's type of finish today. He's the third different leader in the first 3 days, the first non-Frenchman, however, to lead Paris-Nice this year. As the lead has come down to 3:20, with just over 40 kilometers left to go for our four-man breakaway. That's just about 25 miles of racing to the finish in Brioude.
Well, the rider from AG2R in the white jersey with the squares on the back of it there, he won a race from Paris to Camembert back in 2010. He's been a professional since 2005, but he's never really got himself a whole amount of success. It's good to see this team, Vacansoleil. They've been in the breakaway almost every day since we started, and the rider we're looking at there, Keizer, he will probably at the end of the day have the lead in the King of the Mountains competition if these riders can survive all the way up to the second category climb. They're all working extremely well together. They're sharing the pace, making you see one rider goes to the front with the other rider slipping into his slipstream. If you sit in that second position, you can save up to 30% of your energy. But on a day like today, it feels as if the cold is going right through those muscles and into the bones.
And the rider from AG2R in the breakaway, Sebastian Minard, the 30-year-old Frenchman, getting some attention to the radio as he pulls back to the team car.
Just looking at Mads Christensen there in the dark blue jersey of Team Saxo Tinkoff Bank. He, in fact, this year started training very early on in Australia, because he went up to the Gold Coast and was training with the now retired sprinter Robbie McEwen before heading down to the Santos Tour Down Under, where he was very, very aggressive, as he is here. In the past, he's been 11 times champion of Denmark in various disciplines, but mainly on the track as an individual and team pursuiter.
Well, he won the mountains classification at the Tour of the Basque Country last year. And in the breakaway today for the Saxo Tinkoff team. But the margin coming down now under 3 minutes, so they're losing ground with 35K left to go in the stage. Now born in the former East Germany, now at 41 years of age. Every year you think it's going to be his final one. He talks about retirement, but winds up coming back and now leading the field in pursuit of these four, with the lead down almost at 2 minutes.
Well, Team Radio Shack have Andreas Kloden as a good tip for the overall standings after the whole week of this bike race. But I think today they're probably thinking that maybe their sprinter, Tony Galopin, can survive over the slopes of this climb here this afternoon. And in so doing, he would be the fastest man to beat in that group down towards the end. So I think that's the tactic being adopted by Radio Shack. But the gap now at 30 kilometers to go, 18 miles to the finish, is now just tickling the 2-minute mark.
Andreas Kloden, by the way, the winner of Paris-Nice way back in 2000. So well over a decade ago.
Well, that's an innovation. That's the first time I've seen that. We've got almost a live ticker on the back of the motorbike there.
So it's just over a kilometer from here to that second intermediate sprint point for the four-man breakaway. So they're going to eat up the time bonuses of 3, 2, and 1 second for the first three across. Yesterday, the break had been caught by the time they got to that second sprint, so it was much more of a fight to get seconds for the overall general classification, and we won't see that here today.
Well, there was a 1 kilometre to go, so I must apologise, by the way, that we don't have any helicopter shots here this afternoon. They weren't able to get the helicopters up into the skies because of the very low cloud ceiling, but these pictures are being brought to us, actually being beamed up to a fixed-wing aircraft which is flying 10,000 feet above the race. I have to say, they're doing a fantastic job in these weather conditions.
And these four doing as fine a job as they can, but losing ground with every pedal stroke. It's down under 2 minutes now, as they're half a kilometer away from that sprint point. And then as they come into this town, get through the sprint point, the road is going to steadily start going up. The climb itself comes inside of 20K left to go on the stage, but even before they get on the official part of the climb, the road tilts upward, so it's really longer than it appears on paper.
I want to tell you what, there will be a big fight for the right-hand corner to get out onto that loop that takes us around the circuit of the nice countryside around here in Brioude. Now there's a little bit of acceleration coming from Mads Christensen here.
And not much of a response, so it looks like he's going to be the first one through the sprint point.
Well, I don't think the 3 seconds time bonus is going to do very much to Mads Christensen, because he started the day in 126th place overall, looking for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I think it was just a question of a few extra euros into his back pocket.
All right, so the breakaway makes it through the second intermediate sprint. And now on their way to the biggest climb of the race so far, a Category 2 coming up inside the final 20 kilometers. And the gap coming down to 90 seconds here on stage 3 at Paris-Nice.
For AG2R, back in the main field, the riders from Katusha are trying to set something up for their overall leader, and that will be Denis Menchov. Haven't seen very much of him, but he's been hovering near the front end of the main field. Everybody knows that this is going to be the first decisive moment in the forming of the overall standings at this year's Paris-Nice.
And it's really going to come down to who wants to take that risk in the weather with the dangerous roads. If you're willing to risk it and it pays off, it could move you into the lead, considering how tight things are at the top of the general classification. However, if it backfires, it could also take you out of the race, like it did to the yellow jersey yesterday in Nasser Bouhanni.
There's 22 kilometres to go now. That's 13 miles of racing left. These riders are not going to give up. It's still Minard on the front in the white jersey of AG2R, and he'd be happy, I think, to get into the warmth of the main field for a short while, but then the activities will begin to be elevated in the front end of the peloton as everybody tries to move their contenders into a safe position for this climb.
So that's how close the field is, about to scoop up the four-man breakaway that's been out there for the majority of this stage 3. Largest lead was right around 4 minutes. And now just about evaporated with 22.5 kilometers left to go, and that's under 15 miles to the finish.
Just spotted the erstwhile leader of the King of the Mountains at the back of the main field there, Lindemann. He will pass that mantle over to his own teammate, and that of course is Martijn Keizer, who rides for Vacansoleil. They've always been an aggressive team since the very first day of Paris-Nice here in 2013, and there is the man who should be the leader of the King of the Mountains in that dark blue jersey, just out of the saddle, waiting to be rejoined by his compatriots in the main field. But then all of a sudden we'll start to see a different formation coming. 22 kilometres to go. That's about 13 miles left, and you can see, looks like Sylvain Chavanel coming to the front of the main field in the pale blue jersey and the white helmet on of Omega Pharma Quick-Step.